Baruch Hashem. We're currently in a double negative lunar unit since about 10 minutes. Okay. The key is what we're talking about. Yeah, you got to have an overview of the life cycles that you're in. That's important. I do have that. Yet the most important thing was actually something that happened earlier, about 20 minutes ago. I was looking at the things that are going on, and I realized, started getting, angry, legitimately angered about some things. And that same thing happened yesterday. And then what I realized was, hold on a second, and the mind of God within, or, the divine inspiration, it communicated to me and it said, everything that you have, everything you're wearing, your house, your money, your cup of coffee, every possible good thing and amenity that you have is all a bracha, a blessing that comes from God's hesed, or his loving goodness to us, right? And I realized, and I thought, that's actually right, of course. You really realize this when you go from, say, 1 to 1,000,000 and beyond. In other words, when you look at all the things that you have and you realize this all came from God. This is all because of God's loving goodness to us. Then this really changes your perspective when you're then thinking about things that are like, quote unquote, missing. At Baruch Hashem, right now the same thing happened. I, quote unquote, went to accomplish something and it didn't happen. And I just started getting angry. And then I realized, wait a minute, what are you even worried about? What do I care about that didn't work? Or like this thing, this objective, it didn't happen. Don't worry about it at all, because everything is God's eternally full blessings, or Hesedut. Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe, who bestows benefits and kindnesses upon his people Israel. And welcome guests, friends, and visitors. You too should benefit, because it's possible, right? It's how everything is as good as it is. So this really gave me a good perspective all of a sudden, in the midst of a life situation that some would say is a disaster. Because, look, you got things in life that go on, like having a house, and there's bills. What if there's 3,000 in bills, right? And you think about it, and you think about the fact, hey, you did your best, and then you get angry because it's aggravating. But then you hold on a second. The divine inspiration, the immediate, like the ultimate real-time guidance and input from Hashem, from God, comes to mind clearly. And it's like, what are you worried about? You have to remember the fact that everything you have is a Hesedut, like a beneficent kindness, right? Everything you've got. So don't worry about what's quote unquote missing. Yeah, you got to take legit steps and wisely work on, accomplishing objectives in life. That's normal. Yet the idea was like, hey, don't worry about what's missing. Focus on the fact and remember and call to mind the reality, my friends, and myself, right? Of the fact that everything you even have is a blessing. And the rest will be provided, and this will be provided. And I thought, is that too optimistic? Is that too good to be true? Actually, it's the truth. It's something good to know. Do you know this? I know it's true. I know that what I'm saying is true, even though it's so good that you thought, like, really? Yes, it is thus. Wow. Baruch Hashem for that. Yeah? So everything you've got is everything you have, right? You realize this is a bracha, a blessing. Everything you've got, everything you own, everything you're wearing, everything that you have. And when you realize that, look, this all came from like out of nowhere, from the Creator, right? That is how the Creator supplies you miraculously and permanently in a good way, all the way, everywhere, all the way, right? With just the right things, okay? So then I'm looking at this situation and I'm thinking, you know? And then again and again, this is a thought that has to be kept and maintained because it's so good that it was like, look, everything in your life is a beneficent, loving goodness that comes from the Creator. So don't worry. Rather, focus on the fact that, look, that too is going to be covered. Hashem Yireh, God will provide for that and for that too. It's actually how it works. That type of a perspective and a mindset, it is true. It is ultimately true, although it is very, very, like it stems from a level of goodness that we have to be more receptive to in our lives. Because think about this, right? The Creator, the goodness that God provides and bestows upon us, right? Or bestows on us, actually, gives us, is so much, it's so magnificent that it's as if the goodness of the Creator is so much that maybe that's the reason why sometimes it's hard to comprehend and actually realize that He's going to provide for everything. And even this, that, and the next good thing too. So instead of getting angry, and this happened, man, I could get real angry about what's going on. And then I realized, no, hold on a second. Realize reality and the fact that everything is a bracha. It is. Everything is a blessing. And the Creator will continue to bless us with every good thing. It's actually true. Like I said, you had to realize this. And one of the ways I realized this was from the blessings over food and drink from the Siddur, right?